Welcome to Comical Recovery. I am your host with the most trauma, comedian Jessica Byrne, creator of the upcoming cartoon Bud Ease, winner of multiple East Coast comedy competitions, and 35 consecutive years of life experience in the School of Hard Knocks. Subscribe. Hit the like button for recognition. Tell all your friends about your new addiction, because sharing is caring. Today's topic is avoiding a hangover. Yeah, that's right. That's the topic, avoiding a hangover. In the beginning of our AA readings, it says, if you're willing to go to any length. That was me. Willing to go to any length to avoid a hangover. And I had it down to a science. I was the only person I knew that could save certain drugs, we'll say, until the next morning so I could continue on my 3-day bender. Yes, I called myself a weekend warrior. Who actually knows when my weekend began and actually ended is beyond me, because I definitely wasn't keeping track of time. It was all really a matter of tapering off my drinking so that I could actually be dry from alcohol for at least a few days. And then, of course, I'd pick back up again. I took a handful of aspirin, 2 cups of water before bed. I'd go buy charcoal pills, and I'd have a Bloody Mary in the morning, just to start tapering off the drinking so that the next day I could stop. And even with all those tactics, some days it was unavoidable. I'd wake up so hungover that my body would literally reject water and scream, "This isn't the vodka we asked for." Other days I woke up still drunk, with a mission to maintain, so that I wouldn't have to deal with the inevitable fate of what I now know as the DTs. And by the way, I was in total denial of the shakes having anything to do with my drinking. I thought I was way too young to have any alcohol-related symptoms. Turns out that's not a thing. The only thing I truly know now is that every day that I was in my active alcoholism was a day that I was managing my drinking or managing the time in between that I was trying to stay away from the next drink so that I could inevitably deny my active alcoholism. I had a million reasons why I couldn't possibly be an alcoholic, and I was baffled when my therapist mentioned that I should go to AA or NA. I mean, I did not get why she would suggest such a thing. In fact, I finally landed in AA after showing up to an appointment half lit, which by my standards was like barely drinking at all. I mean, I only had 5 drinks, 2 of which were beer, and the other 3 cocktails were like the tiny ones, they weren't even in the big glass. Those were my favorite way to get the drinks, is the big glass. I called them the big kid cup, She convinced me to go to AA by telling me that I needed more support than she was able to offer, and that it was merely a support group, that I'd find people there to help me when she wasn't available. So she got me. I was duped. I checked it out. Also, she kind of gave me an ultimatum that if I didn't go to AA, then I wouldn't be able to see her anymore. So I did what I was supposed to do and stayed ever since, which is the good news. I stayed mostly when they told me that if I didn't like the God word, that I could use an acronym, which was group of drunks. And then I was totally on board because I personally love a group of drunks. I mean, I grew up with a group of drunks. Drunk people are my people. And as Homer Simpson once said, I'm a people person that drinks. That was me. If you've caught my video on the second day of sobriety, you will see how this topic has come up. I was a master at managing my drinking, or so I thought. Little did I know I was actually being managed by my drinking. The whole world revolved around it. The longest career I had was 13 years in a bar. And of course, it wasn't the same bar. In fact, when it all started in that genre of work, I will say, I drank too much, rolled off the stage that night, and they told me if I had one more drink the next day, or actually not one more, one drink the next day at all whatsoever, I would never, ever be able to work there again. So I put my big girl pants on and managed my drinking and did the best I could not to black out. Now, I'm not sure that I didn't black out. I'm pretty sure that those 13 years were mostly blackouts, which is probably a good thing because I've re-traumatized myself from the entire duration of that time. But we'll get onto that in a later podcast. The short end of that story is that I was paid to drink and party, and I loved it. Mostly I loved that was the way that I coped with people. That's the biggest thing that I loved about it. As it turns out, I was just hanging out with the wrong crowd, and finally, when I stopped drinking, I found better people that were actually really enjoyable to be around. So today, for the last 2 years and 4 months, I have avoided a hangover by not drinking. However, there is such a thing as an emotional hangover, and I haven't quite mastered that one just yet. But when I do, you bet your bottom dollar there'll be a podcast on it. If you have any curiosity about your own drinking, there are apps out there to get you to your first meeting. And if you're shy, there's a number you can call so you can talk to someone over the phone and you don't actually have to show up to a meeting. I'm pretty sure there's still Zoom meetings, which is cool, but also sometimes kind of creepy. That's also a long story, but just use that good old Googly. She will get you all the information that you want because she knows everything. Today, I just wanted to shed some light on my alcoholism and what it looks like for me, and the blanket of denial it was wrapped up in. It's a cozy, warm blanket, and I still hold on to it in other problem areas of my life. But today, drinking and drugs is not one of them, and I'm glad I don't have to worry about real hangovers and sleeping next to the porcelain god. I never want my head that close to that thing again, if I can stand it. And there has been a time where I was so sick I thought I was going to die. So I don't want that reenactment again. That's a funny story for later, maybe. Either way, I wish you all an amazing day, and feel free to leave a comment below. Questions are welcomed and happily responded to. The solution to all my problems today is to not pick up the first drink so that I can avoid the real alcoholic hangover, because emotional hangovers, if you do have them, generally aren't that long. They last sometimes a day. And it's emotional congestion. And we'll talk about that in another time in a different podcast. But I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I certainly did. Thank you for listening, sharing, subscribing, and passing me around like your favorite doobie that I kind of miss so much. But we'll just keep that to ourselves. Remember, laughter is the best medicine, and sharing is caring. See you next time for more comical recovery with your friend and host, comedian Jessica Byrne.